Meet Lori.
I think what we've learned in the media from the terrible riot that took place last April 29th and the days that followed is that we need to get to the root causes of the problems in our community. We need to learn how to work together.
Let me move it along.
Together.
David, briefly.
Yeah, I mean, I share Jeff's feeling that responsibility is the key word, and maybe a little cooperation. I mean, I'm curious, for example, whether we need all of those helicopters in the air. Certainly we want some
Ray.
helicopters.
I think restraint and caution are the words we should be looking for. This week, you just had everybody overcovering everything.
Carl, excuse me, I just want to get Carl's last word because I've got to wrap.
Okay, I agree with responsibility. I just don't think we'll get it as long as the ratings game is there.
Well, thank you all on the panel. That's it for this edition of Reliable Sources. I'm Bernard Kalb. My thanks to Ray, Carl, David, and Jeff. That's it for this edition of Reliable Sources. Thank you for joining us. The news continues here on CNN.
For a transcript, send $5 to Journal Graphics, 1535 Grant Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203.
At CNN, our business news starts early. At 6:30 Eastern, Deborah Marchini and Stuart Varney update the international markets and brief you on the day ahead. At 7:30, we're back with an in-depth look at top business stories, and we'll update the markets live every hour. At 7 o'clock Eastern on Moneyline, we review the day's developments, call in the experts and newsmakers, put it all in perspective. Then, we do it all again tomorrow.
Moneyline with Lou Dobbs weeknights and business news throughout the day on CNN.
I wonder if we have termites.
Terminex is the nation's leader in termite control.
Let's see. Terminex. Where's that number?
Our name is well known, if not always well loved. Of course, on our way to the top, we made some enemies. So if you suspect termites, call us. Nobody bugs like Terminex.
On Headline News, you get all the latest news every 30 minutes. It's the one network with up-to-date business and financial reports at 15 and 45 after each hour. Headline News, a whole day's news every half hour. Check cable listings for the channel number.
These are the tools of modern business. Tools that provide today's most valuable business commodity, information. The one tool providing the most complete source of information is CNN. CNN covers the world's business like no other network. All weekend. With shows like Your Money, Inside Business, and Money Week. The one tool that delivers business's most valuable commodity, fast and accurate, is CNN.
If Luxury car window stickers also reflected the cost of insurance, repairs, fuel, registration fees, depreciation, and maintenance. You'd see the Acura Legend as the lowest cost of ownership in its class, and why owning a Legend isn't quite such an unraveling experience. Lease a Legend for $399 a month. See your Acura dealer for details.
Imagine a place where tales are tall, the air is pure, and dreams run free.
Ooh, look at your car. It's filthy. What would your boss think? You don't want to drive up in that. Better go to the new Beaverton Car Wash and give your car the ultimate wash. We purify our recycled water to get your car sparkling clean inside and out. While you wait, Beaverton Car Wash's espresso bar will serve you up a steamy latte or rich espresso, or browse through our gift shop. State-of-the-art equipment gives you faster, better service, and after 8 washes at Beaverton Car Wash, you get one free. So give your car the ultimate wash at the new Beaverton Car Wash.
Bankruptcy. It can ruin your life.
I wasn't making enough money to pay my bills. Getting further behind and my creditors were on me. Almost filed bankruptcy. But I heard it would stay on my credit record for 10 years. It would be tough to buy things on credit.
Consumer Credit Counseling Service, the best alternative to bankruptcy.
They solve debt problems by working with your creditors to avoid bankruptcy.
Call Consumer Credit Counseling Service today.
I'm glad I did.
This is CNN.
This is a CNN special presentation.
Today's decision in the federal civil rights trial of the 4 officers accused of beating Rodney King may set a precedent of sorts. It was a case of an unusual dual prosecution, a second trial after an earlier one. And in the streets of South Central L.A., unpopular verdict in the first. And while this trial featured a similar cast of characters, the accusations, the strategy, and the venue were all very different. CNN's Martin Hill explains. I'm sorry, we have a problem with that report. We'll try to get that to you in just a few moments. But we go on. Tears of joy, sighs of relief, just 2 emotions that describe the feeling tonight here in the city of Los Angeles. The sun is now set on a day that this city has been waiting on for over 2 years. A conclusion, a resolution. It's all been reached, at least for today. And if the smog hasn't lifted, the sense of uncertainty seems to be clearly gone. Just like anyone recovering from serious trauma, the rebuilding will be done one day at a time. For a look now at the events today that turned this city from anxiety to new hope, we begin with CNN's Greg Lamont.
Sergeant Stacy Kuhn never moved a muscle. Officer Lawrence Powell sat stoically. These were the 2 officers the jury decided violated Rodney King's civil rights. Former Officer Timothy Wind crossed himself before his verdict of not guilty was read. Officer Theodore Bazzino bowed his head and cried as he, too, was found not guilty.
Ted was crying. It was hard to console him. He should have been happy about being acquitted, but he felt terrible about the other officers.
The jury had reached its verdicts Friday afternoon. U.S. District Judge John Davies decided to seal them until 7 a.m. Saturday. Reaction outside on the courthouse plaza to the guilty verdicts was loud cheers. Inside, for some, it was more somber.
One of the real unknown stories in this case, and if you broadcast nothing else of what I say, is how sad it is that the Los Angeles Police Department management, past and current, forsaked their officers.
None of the defendants spoke to the media, but all of the prosecutors made themselves available following one of the most closely watched trials in U.S. history.
A year ago, the conscience of the community, the conscience of the nation, cried out for justice, and this verdict provides justice.
Prosecutor Stephen Clymer said it also provides a message for police departments.
They can use force that's reasonable and necessary to make an arrest, and no more.
The government admitted its best case was against Kuhn and Powell, but wanted convictions for all 4. So did Rodney King's attorney, Milton Grimes.
I think the evidence was clear. All four were guilty, along with many others who were not charged or prosecuted. Any officer that arrived on that scene that early morning of March 3rd, 1991, and saw this man being beaten and did not offer any assistance are equally as guilty.
Following last year's state trial, the jury essentially acquitted all of the officers. Should those jurors feel as though they made a mistake?
They might have been right just on the evidence they heard in that case, but we heard a different case this time. The federal government was ready to go. They presented much more evidence. Rodney King testified, experts testified, civilian witnesses testified, and I think that made a difference. It also made a difference to have a different jury. We had a mixed jury this time, people from different walks of life, and that could have made the difference as well.
Kuhn and Powell will be sentenced August 4th and could face prison terms of 10 years and $250,000 in fines. For the other two, just like the city of Los Angeles, time will be spent trying to return their lives to some sense of normalcy. Greg Lamont, CNN, at the Federal Courthouse, Los Angeles.
In the areas hit the hardest by the deadly Los Angeles riots of last year, the mood appears very much different when
Republicans say the bill contains too many pork barrel projects. U.S. Marines continue their slow evacuation from Somalia. Today, the soldiers officially handed control of the inland town of Bardera to troops from Botswana. When Marines first arrived in Bardera last December, 300 villagers died each day from starvation. Now that figure has dropped to 8. The Marines are expected to return to the U.S. sometime next week. Police in South Africa have arrested a prominent member of the pro-apartheid Conservative Party. Clive Derby Lewis is being questioned in connection with the assassination of Communist Party leader Chris Hani. Hani was gunned down last week in front of his home. A Polish immigrant charged with the murder apparently led police to arrest Derby Lewis. In Johannesburg today, about 20,000 people took part in a relatively peaceful demonstration commemorating Hani. But at another protest, a white man allegedly opened fire on marchers, killing 2 blacks. Police dragged the suspected gunman from his pickup truck and arrested him. The next round of Mideast peace talks begins in Washington Tuesday, but it isn't certain who will show up. Today, Israel said it would go, but the PLO has asked for a delay, saying the U.S. and Israel should first do more to solve the crisis over the Palestinians expelled by Israel. The PLO and Arab countries say they will announce Monday when they will resume negotiations. Turkish President Turgut Özal died of heart failure today. He had been rushed to an Ankara hospital after suffering a sudden drop in blood pressure. Özal was a crucial supporter of the U.S.-led alliance during the Persian Gulf War. Turkey's parliamentary speaker will be sworn in as acting president. Turgut Özal was 66. A report to the United Nations Security Council says an unconditional ceasefire has been agreed upon for the eastern Bosnian town of Srebrenica. Commanders of Bosnia's Serb and Muslim forces reportedly met this afternoon and agreed to cease fighting at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. The UN Security Council is discussing tightening sanctions against Belgrade following the Serb offensive on Srebrenica. A vote could come tonight or tomorrow. Meanwhile, UN relief efforts in eastern Bosnia have suffered another setback. Christiane Amanpour reports.
About the only things moving near this convoy were the horse-drawn carts and the cattle. The company of Canadian soldiers trying to get from Tuzla to Srebrenica was blocked even before it could get to the first Serb checkpoint. This even though Bosnian Serb leader Radovan Karadzic himself invited them in to accept Srebrenica's surrender and disarm the Muslims.
Although a political decision was made, apparently the local military authorities do not understand that or haven't been told.
So after waiting 7 hours, 135 soldiers and about 40 vehicles turned around and went back to base. Yet another UN mission stuck in the mud. Even as the Serbs were giving the UN the runaround again, publicly Karadzic was talking peace again. Serbs do not wish to defeat anyone, he said. Serbs are for a peaceful solution in Srebrenica. But ham radio reports from the town speak of continued shelling and casualties. A freelance cameraman shot these pictures of a company of Bosnian Serb soldiers, along with their tanks and armored vehicles, about 3 kilometers north of Srebrenica. Which way to Srebrenica, joked this one. Another one said, we don't want anyone else's land, but we're not giving up ours. As Serbs stand poised on the edge of Srebrenica, international doctors report the medical situation there is hopeless. 400 to 500 people need immediate evacuation.
they're not able to treat them all at the same moment. So they can operate on one person per time, which means that other people will die because they can't have a proper medical treatment.
Still, plans to evacuate about 30,000 more civilians from Srebrenica are on hold.
UN officials now expect it'll be at least another day, if not longer, before more refugees start coming out of Srebrenica. It appears the town's Muslim defenders won't let them out until the UN starts helicopter evacuations.
The UN made one air evacuation within the last month, and helicopters are now on standby to go into Srebrenica again. Christiana Manpour, CNN, Tuzla.
The Space Shuttle Discovery is back on Earth. It touched down this morning at Florida's Kennedy Space Center one day late.
Touchdown.
Yesterday's landing was canceled because of bad weather. The 5-member crew spent 9 days in orbit conducting tests on the sun and the ozone layer. NASA says Discovery appears in good shape. The preparations are now underway for next Saturday's liftoff of the Space Shuttle Columbia. Vaccination is the word of the day in Atlanta. Former President Jimmy Carter says some 10,000 volunteers joined him today in a door-to-door campaign to promote childhood immunization. The goal was to visit 200,000 homes. Carter himself planned to visit more than 50. Today's effort is part of the former president's Atlanta Project, aimed at improving life in the city's lower-income neighborhoods. Up next, in Dollars and Cents, Guatemala looks to the past to bring more tourists in the future. And later, conking out in Key West.
Sunday weather for South America, cloudy over northern Chile and Colombia, rain for northern Brazil, cool temperatures for Bogota and La Paz.
This is Headline News, a CNN network.
When you fly in coach, are you comfortable? Or if somebody leans back, you should have to offer him a shave? We at TWA have a much better idea. We're giving you the most legroom of any major U.S. airline in domestic or European service. And we're even adding footrests on all our wide-body planes. So sit back, relax, or do something really revolutionary like cross your legs.
There's a growing respect for life in this country. You can feel it in the renewal of the family, in the return of basic values. And with this new respect, many people, when faced with an unexpected pregnancy, are deciding to make an extra place at life's table. Because many people are coming to realize that everyone deserves a chance to be born. Life, what a beautiful choice.
It began with all the trappings of a Sunday afternoon sporting event. When the smoke cleared from Bull Run, it revealed the first casualties of America's bloodiest war. 130 years after it began, the Civil War has lost none of its power to move us. I'm Jim McPherson, and I'd like to send you this compelling history, the Civil War Chronicles, as a free gift for trying American Heritage magazine. American Heritage is history with all the impact of this morning's paper. American Heritage is first-hand history. It's personal history of the underrated Americans who made a difference and of the famous who may have made less of a difference than you think. What should we tell our children about Vietnam? American Heritage had 52 answers. American Heritage is as diverse as the American experience. And right now I invite you to try it without obligation.
Call this toll-free number now and receive 10 issues of American Heritage for 3 monthly installments of $9.97. If you're not completely satisfied with your first issue, simply write cancel on your bill and owe nothing. Or keep American Heritage coming and receive the Civil War Chronicles free.
Guatemala is hoping to boost its tourism industry to 800,000 visitors a year. As Chuck Roberts reports, the ruins of the Mayan Empire are a major draw.
Rise above the canopy of the rainforest and watch time fall away 1 century at a time until the visitor is no longer in the 20th century, but caught somewhere between then and now. This is Tikal, Guatemala. For several hundred years, from about 600 BC until about 900 AD, it was the capital of one of the world's greatest civilizations. Tikal sat in the exact center of the Maya Empire. It was home to 50,000 people whose civilization disappeared as mysteriously as it arose. Today, time and the jungle have reclaimed many of the achievements, but Tikal is being rediscovered. Part of Tikal's appeal is its location in the middle of a dense jungle, far from modern life and commercialization.
When you sit on some places, or you're going up to the pyramids, and you sit somewhere and you stay for about half an hour, you have the feeling of being in the middle of the Maya culture.
Most of the buildings visitors come to see were built between 550 and 900 AD, when Tikal was at its peak.
This is an original monument. It's actually that small.
Most visitors focus on the Plaza Mayor, the Great Plaza. The Maya held religious ceremonies here and offered their sacrifices while the crowds waited below. A close look at Temple 1, or the Temple of the Great Jaguar, shows the ravages of time. Temple 2, or the Temple of the Masks, is shorter and wider and offers a good view of the plaza and Temple 1. At its peak, Tikal covered 25 square miles. Relatively little of it has been reclaimed since it was first discovered in the late 19th century. And never far from sight, the jungle reminds visitors of how it could look again if nature has its way. Chuck Roberts, CNN reporting.
A Florida record store owner has called off a sale, offering half-off prices to customers who took it all off. Scott Williams said he placed the advertisement as a joke, but 11 young men took him up on the offer, going on a buying spree in the Buff. However, police were not amused and ordered that sale canceled. Headline Sports is up next.
This is Headline News, a CNN network.
You know, I think we have a bug problem.
Us? Bugs? Nah.
Well, the Murphys next door had bugs.
They did?
Yeah, the bugs were taking over. They called Terminix.
Yeah, but I'm sure we don't have bugs.
Well, I think I'll call Terminix anyway.
Terminix can treat any pest problem properly and effectively. We're the nation's leader.
Have you seen the phone book?
Call us. Nobody bugs bugs. Like Terminix.
We have 2 Toyotas, and I was considering a Camry because of the reliability.
I was going to buy a Honda. Then I saw the commercial that said the Achieva beat the Accord and Camry in a 100,000-mile test.
If you're really thinking about getting a car, get the test results and look at the video.
For the complete results of this independent real-world test, call 1-800-THE-TEST.
The Achieva's the first American car I've bought, period.
It's your call.
You know, I don't get it. We make so much more than our parents ever did. And they bought a house, took vacations. They even managed to retire.
That was then. Things are different now.
So how are we going to do it?
To help manage your money more wisely today, get the Wall Street Journal Guide to Understanding Personal Finance. The guide is filled with information you need to know before you buy a home, plan your retirement, or start saving for your child's college years. It's yours free when you subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. Every business day, the Wall Street Journal gives you the news, analysis, and insights you need to make the right decisions for your business, your career, your future. Subscribe now to the Wall Street Journal. Get 13 weeks of the Journal for $37, over 20% off the newsstand price, and your free copy of the Guide to Personal Finance. Call 800-435-3700. That's 800-435-3700.
I'm John Sullivan with Headline Sports. Joe Montana has worked out a deal to be the Kansas City Chiefs' new quarterback, agreeing to a 3-year contract. But that doesn't mean he'll be leaving the 49ers just yet. San Francisco team president Carmen Policy said, quote, "There is a distinct possibility that Joe will remain in San Francisco," end of quote. And that is because in order to complete the deal, the Chiefs have to work out compensation with San Francisco. Reports are the Niners would be willing to take a 3rd-round draft pick from the Chiefs.
Aaron White announced on March 19th his intention to retire this summer, word was spread by presidential aides that Governor Cuomo was indeed President Clinton's first choice for the High Court. But on April 7th, the governor wrote the president saying, quote, "I think I owe it to you to make clear now that I do not wish to be considered," unquote. We're here in CNN's New York bureau. This is your first national TV interview since you made that decision, Governor Cuomo. Can you say now whether that is a decision for all time permanently, or whether when another vacancy comes up, you'll reconsider if the president wants to consider you?
I think I'd prefer to limit the situation to what actually occurred. What actually occurred was that I'd never spoken to the president about the Supreme Court. I know he had mentioned it in the campaign. There had never been any conversation between me and him about the Supreme Court. Obviously, I was aware of what he had said. And then suddenly there were stories in the paper about the possibility that he would be asking me. I had to make a judgment at that time as to whether or not he should ask me and what my answer would be. What I concluded was that given that I was in the midst of a budget struggle here in New York State still had problems, that the question were left to me. My conscience told me the best contribution I could make right now is to be in New York and to strengthen New York as it comes out of this recession and moves into the recovery. And so in fact, I anticipated the president. It wasn't a question of the president calling up and saying, "Hey, Mario, this is it. This is where we need you. Get in the ditch. You know, we're in for a fight." What I said very clearly in the letter, and the letter says everything I wanted to say. What I said in the letter is, if I read things correctly, there is some speculation about you talking to me. You have many wonderful people available, and so I have no way of knowing whether you'd ever actually nominate me. But I think I owe it to you before you get to that point to say to you that I think you ought not to consider me because in my own judgment, I can better serve right here, right now. Now, that wasn't an easy decision to make.
But that, Governor, if I understand you, if I hear you correctly, that is a one-time decision for this situation. If another situation arises, you address that differently, correct?
This decision, this judgment that I made was difficult enough to make, even if you contain it to the moment. To have to deal with all the future would be something else. Let me make one thing clear. I don't think this is a particularly important subject, and I hope we'll end it with this brief dialogue and talk about some real issues. But, you know, the speculation that follows that says, well, he doesn't like the idea of being on the Supreme Court. Well, that's all foolishness. Yeah. It would be the greatest privilege in the world. It would be much easier than what I'm doing now. Yeah. That wasn't the question. The question that I had to answer for myself was where can you best serve at the moment, not what would you enjoy most.
Governor, let's be candid. You may think people have forgotten about this, but there are a lot of people out there who expected you on the court, who wanted you on the court. If the President of the United States had done to you what Lyndon Johnson did to Arthur Goldberg, he brought him into the Oval Office, he said, "I need you, I want you, I must have you on the court," and Goldberg didn't want to go on the court at all. He said, "Of course I'll do that for you, sir." If that had happened to you, what would your answer have been?
As I say, I'm
But if the president had really insisted...
See, I'm not as subtle and as
You're not
capable
subtle?
as some of you. I deal very narrowly with the situations that confront me at the moment because that takes all of my intelligence and all of my energy, and I limit myself to that. Let me say this about the president and my relationship with him, and I said it in the letter, too. I am immensely grateful to the president for having given me the opportunity to participate in the campaign, for having said the flattering things he said about me, and for all that he has done for my family and my state. As far as I'm concerned, he has been very, very good to me, and I am extremely supportive of the president and his current situation, and that's part of it as well. In making my own calculation, I consider that I can be useful to this president as long as I'm still in the political system.
Isn't it true, though, that he called you first? You didn't call him. Is that correct?
It is true that I got a phone call from the White House and called him back. And then he called me a second time from the airplane. If you're saying who started the phone calls.
I only asked for this reason, sir. Time magazine had a suggestion that they said they got from White House aides, that there was background checking on a number of potential possible candidates, one of whom was not the governor of New York. I'm making no charge or accusation. Is it possible that the president really did not want you on the high court?
Well, I don't know about that. You'd have to ask the president, but I can tell you about background checking. I don't know who's had more background checks in America than I have. The Republicans will tell you, we have piles up to here, Alan Simpson on Governor Cuomo. I ran against Roger Ailes, Mr. Negative Advocate for Reagan and Bush twice. Incidentally, we set 2 records in beating them. In the campaign, I'm sure that people like Bill Clinton then, Governor Bill Clinton, did negative research on the people they thought they'd be facing, and I was one of them. I'd be very surprised if the governor's campaign didn't have a very good book on Mario Cuomo, as the Republicans did. So I wouldn't be surprised if you told me they hadn't done a background search on me. That had already been done many times over.
You didn't need one.
You have to bring everything up to date, but surely my background has been searched as much as anybody in America, in politics.
Well, just so we don't get a lot of mail, what you meant, of course, was when Lyndon Johnson wanted Goldberg off the court, not on the court.
Yeah, but what Rolly was saying is if he wanted him on the court, he would have come back.
Exactly.
Well, the point, look, I think the point you're making is...
If he was saying commander-in-chief,
I need you.
Is this a situation where the President of the United States says, hey, look, put all your calculations aside. I'm not interested in what you think, Mario. I was elected to be the president. I make the judgment as to what's best for America. And I'm telling you, this is it. That's my best judgment. Now, you're free to do whatever you want, and I'll love you anyway. But if you're interested in what I think, that is not what happened. I anticipated him. He never got to the point where he had to say anything to me. I said what I said. It's all in that letter. That explains everything I said to him, and here we are.
Let me ask one other thing on this, and this has nothing to do with the Supreme Court. It has a lot to do with Mario Cuomo. Jimmy Breslin, who is not an enemy of yours, is a friend. In his column, said people all over are asking, after you have failed to run for president on numerous occasions, asked to be excluded from the court, he said, what does Cuomo have to hide, and why is he hiding it? I would just ask you very frankly, do you have anything to hide?
No, I don't think so. I think he also said, didn't he, that if anybody thinks that there's anything wrong with this guy's character, it said there's nothing anywhere under any circumstance. I know him better than anybody. Everybody's checked him upside down.
But he says people are asking that.
Oh, yeah, sure, they'll ask that. That's the most natural thing in the world. Let me give you a fact. I was lieutenant governor. Nobody in this state knew me. Polls said that 11% of the people recognized Mario Cuomo, the lieutenant governor. 15% of the people said they wouldn't vote for Mario Cuomo because of organized crime. 11% knew me, 15% said organized crime. What that means is all they need to do is see the vowels to arrive at certain conclusions. So there will be...
Because you're an Italian-American.
Well, obviously. There will be people who arrive at all kinds of conclusions negatively. All I can tell you is that I have dealt with this as I deal with everything, candidly. I make my position very, very clear. And I think it may surprise some people that you don't choose constantly to seize the office that's one level or more above you. But that's the way it is. We have devoted ourselves to public service, trying to do it in a way that we thought we would be best suited to serve. Just one final, and please, let's end it with this.
Yeah.
You have to remember, there's not any excess of caution. When I got into politics, I had no money, no friends. I had been anti-political, and I got killed in 3 different races. When I ran for governor, I had no money. I had to run against Ed Koch, who everybody picked. Yep. I was 38 points behind in the polls, and I did it anyway because I thought it was right. And I would do the Supreme Court or the presidency or anything else if I had concluded it was the best thing for me to do for my community. It wasn't, and so I didn't.
We're going to move on now.
Good.
We're eating up time. Gays
Good.
in the military, sir. This
Good.
is a current issue. You want to talk about current issues. Are you for a policy of absolutely no discrimination of any kind against gays in the military as President Clinton is.
I support the president. I commend the president. The president on the gay issue, on the health care issue, on the economy has done one consistent thing. He has told the truth, even if not everybody accepts it. You cannot exclude people from the military, deny them the right to fight for their country
with
because
separate
of
living
their
quarters,
lifestyle.
separate jobs.
I mean, how you do that is what now everybody is sitting down now trying to work out. And
so that's possible.
Well, they'll have to work something out. I'm not prepared to say what the conditions should be. You have experts there. I am prepared to say this, that it would have been wrong for the president to turn away from the commitment he made to America, that he would deal with this question of lifestyles and their relationship to your right to fight for your country. Everybody knows it has nothing to do with your ability to be courageous, to be valiant. We have had many gay people, many lesbians in the service who have fought well. That's his essential point.
Right, you've made it, you've made it. Now,
Good.
Governor, just continue on these cultural and family issues. I want to ask you a very sensitive question. Would you favor tax breaks that now go to married couples for homosexual or lesbian or gay couples who live together? Should they have the same cohabitation tax breaks that a normal married couple has?
I think, before you get into these exquisite applications of the general principle, you ought to agree on the general principle. Do you think that gay and lesbian people are entitled to less rights than married people who, in the course of their married life, perform various strange sexual conduct that defies Swaresian and Catholic standards? It is foolishness to say, because they're gay and lesbian, they are lesser people. Now, that is the general principle. You don't have to be gay. You don't have to be lesbian. If you think it's wrong, terrific. Don't do it. But the question for America is, does that entitle you to treat them as lesser human beings? Now, the specific application of that in many, many different contexts can be exquisitely difficult, but that's the central point, and that's what the president's talking about.
But Governor, President Clinton has got the worst popularity ratings in the polls, the highest negatives, as they say, of any new president. Do you think, why is that? Is it perhaps because of the position he has taken on the gays in the military, or are there other reasons that he's having a popularity problems?
Bob, I set a record in the polls, highest polls ever for a governor in this state. Also, I may now set a record for lowest. It's the same Mario Cuomo. What's the difference? A recession, a lot of tough news, a lot of tough decisions. So too with Bill Clinton. A month ago, he was 70-30. Why? Well, he was talking to America generally, made that magnificent speech to the Congress about shared sacrifice. Everybody cheered. And then you started telling them what a BTU was and how you have to pay for it and what $200,000 means and what a tax increase means. And health care becomes now a little more practical.
How has he handled that, in your opinion?
He's handled it all very well, but it's hurting him politically because he's telling people the truth. He has taken one immense challenge after another instead of ducking it, which is the way to stay popular politically. Don't face the problem. Tell the people what they want to hear. Avoid telling them that you need to raise taxes and close bases. He does not make himself popular in my state, where, incidentally, he won by a bigger margin than anywhere but Arkansas, by saying Griffiths Air Force Base may have to go down, Homeport may have to... But these may conceivably be right decisions. He's doing what's right.
You think the people would be paying a lot more taxes?
Of course they'll pay more taxes. He told you that in the campaign, and he's telling you that now. Absolutely. And nobody likes it, including me. But if you're asking me, is he doing the right thing? Of course he is. Is it making him unpopular? Of course it is.
Of course, you just raised the cigarette tax in the state of New York, so you would have no objection to a sin tax down in Washington, would you? Value added or any other kind?
I don't raise them because they're sins. I'm not God. This is not leveling a punishment against people who drink or smoke.
We only have a second, sir.
I want to discourage. I want to discourage smoking, but it's not for me to condemn it as sinful.
Is it accurate to ask you? Is it accurate to say that you are looking perhaps to Mr. McCall or another member of the Black race for
this is the Education Commissioner George McCall?
Yeah. I think it's Michael McCall.
Michael McCall?
I believe it's Michael McCall.
No,
for a running mate.
It's George McCall.
No, it's neither, but that's all right.
Let's have it. Let's have it. Do you know his name?
It's Carl McCall.
That's it.
All right. Anyway.
Would you like to switch and go to that ticket for the 94 fourth term re-election campaign?
No, I want Stan Lundeen. But the
Oh, you do want
Oh,
to.
absolutely, absolutely. He's terrific.
And you are going to run, aren't you, sir?
If I choose to run, I'm going to ask Stan Lundin to run with me. If I don't run, for whatever reason, I will support Stan
Just for
Lundin.
the non-New Yorkers,
Carl-
Stan Lundin is the current lieutenant
He is the
governor.
current lieutenant governor, former congressman, 5 terms, a terrific guy, will make a superb governor.
We've got to take a break, Governor. And when we come back after these messages, we'll have the big question for Governor Cuomo.
The time has finally come for the cordless power roller from Wagner. Now you control the flow of paint, so the Wagner power roller can cut jobs in half. Smoothly and evenly, it can cover areas twice as fast. And cleanup is a snap, so you can finish one job and do another. Get your hands on a real value, because the value of Wagner keeps on rolling.
Growing, growing, gone. Plants suffer from trouble as varied as nature itself. So turn to the source of advice and good ideas. Ortho. It's our nature to help.
Shipping a package to Omaha? That's child's play. Try customs in Shanghai. The Peruvian Andes. Parking in Paris. Sandstorms in Cairo. The 400 dialects of India. An address between Czech and Slovakia. That demands local know-how. DHL people are the locals. DHL. We'll take it from here. Omaha, that's a milk run.
As Los Angeles tries to preserve civic peace, other cities seek solutions to their own problems. I'm Frank Sesno. Metropolitan mayors will discuss expensive problems and limited resources on Newsmaker Sunday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern, tomorrow.
Governor, the big question, should universal right to abortion be part of Hillary's health reform program?
I think you should fund the constitutional right to abortion in any health care plan.
Total funding?
Yeah, I think probably you will be required to eventually by the law. That is the constitutional right to abortion, Roe against Wade, which is a limited right. It is not a universal right. But to the extent that it is legal, it ought to be made available to everybody, the poor as well as those who can afford it.
It's a good answer, good, clear
Isn't that
answer.
offensive, really, to a lot of Catholics who have said, okay, there is a right to abortion, but my goodness, the taxpayers, the people who are opposed to abortion, shouldn't have to pay for everybody else's.
Well, I think it is offensive to a lot of Catholics and others who separate the question of the right to abortion to the necessity to have to pay for it. Some people used to feel that way about your right to having a trial as a poor person when you were accused of a crime, and my obligation to pay for your lawyer. I say you're entitled to a trial, but why should I have to pay for your lawyer? It's the same thing, and the Constitution was interpreted to say, look, if a poor person is given a constitutional right, we think the poor person should be given the means to exercise it. A poor woman is given the constitutional right to use her own conscience in abortion, whether I like it or not. And it seems to me to follow logically as a sensible thing to do, to give her the money she needs to exercise that right.
Very briefly, sir, Pat Moynihan, Senator Moynihan, was in town the other day, and he said family values in this city are going to the dogs right in front of our eyes.
He's right, and in this country...
What are you going to do about it?
And in this country, I'll tell you one thing you should do, and we should spend an hour talking about this. Here's the family value that counts. Work. W-O-R-K. Give people the chance to work. Give them what you gave my father, who was a ditch digger. He came here with nothing, but you gave him a job. Give everybody the chance to work at good work with a chance to uplift them. You'll see how quickly family values will follow.
We're going to have that in the next program.
Good.
Thank you very much for
Okay.
being with us, Governor Cuomo. My partner and I will be back with a comment after these messages.
Go ahead, scum. Make my day. Tough Soap Scum is no match for new X14 Soap Scum Remover, now with twice the power. It cleans soap scum better than Dow. without scrubbing. New X14 Soap Scum Remover. It's better.
2 a.m., 36 Pine Street. Apartment 4C has a backache and can't sleep. 3C overdid her afternoon workout and is paying the price. 2C had an aching back, but fortunately she also has Tylenol PM gel caps with extra strength Tylenol pain reliever, plus a gentle ingredient to help her sleep. And a good night's sleep was all she needed to make her day a whole lot brighter. Tylenol PM, so you can rest easy.
The stranger and his trusty grill stood ready for the fight. Other sauces against Bullseye to see which tasted right. As the smoke rose off his grill, Hunt was laid to waste. Then Masterpiece and Heinz dropped out against Bullseye Big Bowl Taste. Yeah, the stranger had won the day with a sauce that beat the rest. The Big Bowl Taste of Bullseye tastes the best. Try Bullseye Honey Smoke and Western Grill with the smoky taste of outdoor grilling.
When you fly in coach, are you comfortable? Or if somebody leans back, you should have to offer him a shave? We at TWA have a much better idea. We're giving you the most legroom of any major U.S. airline in domestic or European service. And we're even adding footrests on all our wide-body planes. So sit back, relax, or do something really revolutionary like cross your legs.
Baseball is a game of numbers, but the most important numbers aren't in the box scores. They're on the balance sheets. With money as the game's dominant player, can America's favorite pastime survive? Major League Business, Sunday at 9 on CNN.
Bob, you know, the governor, with all his inimitable Talmudic formulations, didn't leave unanswered the question. If the president had said, I need you, I want you, and you're coming on my court, I think he might well have done it. He did not tell us he wouldn't have. I think that is an interesting insight into the contact between the two gentlemen.
And nor did he close the door for any future nominations or suggestions that are vacancies for the court. I think the governor also showed he is really sensitive to this, what I think is a scurrilous gossip that every time he turns something down, there's something in his background that he's trying to hide. And he came out and said it right away. It's because he is an Italian that he's accused of gangland connections unjustly.
And you know, Bob, for all the nasty things that President Clinton said about Governor Cuomo during the campaign, he must have liked what the governor said today. He supported the president right down the line. Taxes, automatic financing of anybody who wants an abortion, and nice language about Hillary Clinton. Can't go much further than that.
The governor, Rowley, is the last of the pure liberals, and that's why he would have been so interesting on the court, because he doesn't hedge, he doesn't make it smaller. He says taxes are a good thing. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Liberal Mario, right. He's a national treasure. I'm Robert Novak.
I'm Roland Evans.
For a transcript, send $5 to Journal Graphics, 1535 Grant Street, Denver, Colorado, 80203, or call 1-303-831-9000.
I'll get the cereal, honey. Morning. You'll love this cereal. Where'd you come from? A different time when grains were kept whole for the natural hearty taste. Great grains, toasted wheat, oats, and barley, kept whole, full of flavor. Pecans, dates, raisins. Enjoy it with the missus. Thanks.
Great. Where'd you get this?
Mind if I tell her?
What was great back then is great grains now. A great cereal from Post.
I put off seeing my doctor because I was worried about needing surgery for my hemorrhoids. I suffered for it. The pain, itching, and burning were awful. But the doctor said my hemorrhoids weren't serious. I didn't need surgery. He told me it was time I started using Preparation H.
Preparation H helps relieve the symptoms of inflamed hemorrhoidal tissues, often bringing relief from itching, burning, and painful irritation for hours.
What a difference Preparation H cream makes.
Doctor recommended Preparation H.
Hi, this is Larry King. Join me next week. Great guests, Attorney General Janet Reno, baseball legend Pete Rose, Shirley Temple Black, Ross Perot, and more. All next week, Larry King Live, weeknights 9 Eastern on CNN.
Hello, I'm Charles Crawford in Atlanta. Travel Guide is coming up, but first, this news update. Another person has left the Branch Davidian compound outside Waco, Texas. A man wearing a T-shirt that read David Koresh, God, left the armed cult fortress on Saturday. The FBI says he's one of the men who slipped into the compound last month. Meanwhile, inside the compound, Koresh appears to want to increase his literary output. He's asked for a word processor. The standoff is entering its 50th day. In the nation's other standoff, Ohio corrections officials have again sent in food, water, and medicine for inmates and hostages in the week-old prison takeover. A new concern surfaced on Saturday, reports that inmates were trying to dig tunnels to freedom. Authorities brought in bulldozers to deal with any breach of security. At least 7 hostages and 1 prison guard have been killed in the standoff. 2 hostages have been released. Near Los Angeles, a disturbance unrelated to the Rodney King verdict. Six Flags Magic Mountain had a much better turnout than expected for 2 rap concerts Saturday night. Young people turned violent after the park shut its gates when it reached capacity. This left a huge traffic jam on the roads around the park. When we come back, a new ceasefire is declared in Bosnia as the UN increases sanctions aimed at ending the war. And LA's police chief spreads a message of peace and cooperation after the Rodney King civil rights verdict.
People's ideas about a proper funeral are as individual as people themselves. So make your arrangements now, the way you want them. Then, to protect against future cost increases, fund your plans through the Family Considerations Program. It's easy, comforting, and your family won't be burdened with a difficult decision later. Family Considerations, because nothing is more important than your family.
Nature's song echoes through this land, where today looks like yesterday and feels like forever.
I feel the music in my heart when Montana sings.
This weekend, every new Subaru is on sale right now through Monday at Wentworth. Where to buy? At the east end of the Burnside Bridge.
The Salvation Army Summer Camps. Last year, they helped more than 3 million kids come to their senses.
This weekend, every new Subaru is on sale right now through Monday at Wentworth. Where to buy? At the east end of the Burnside Bridge.
Ooh, look at your car. It's filthy. What would your boss think? You don't want to drive up in that. Better go to the new Beaverton Car Wash and give your car the ultimate wash. We purify our recycled water to get your car sparkling clean inside and out. While you wait, Beaverton Car Wash's espresso bar will serve you up a steamy latte or rich espresso, or browse through our gift shop. State-of-the-art equipment gives you faster, better service, and after 8 washes at Beaverton Car Wash, you get 1 free. So give your car the ultimate wash at the new Beaverton Car Wash.
This is CNN.
Welcome back to CNN Weekend and this news update. Another promise of peace in Bosnia-Herzegovina as the United Nations moves to tighten sanctions. Just an hour ago, the UN Security Council approved new measures, including a freeze on Yugoslav assets abroad and tighter controls on shipments entering the country. The vote was 13-0, Russia and China abstaining. That comes as Serb and Muslim forces have signed a new ceasefire around the Muslim enclave of Srebrenica in eastern Bosnia. The accord calls for more peacekeepers in the city and the safe evacuation of civilians. No word on whether it has taken effect. Attorneys for Sergeant Stacy Kuhn and Lawrence Powell say they will appeal. The two officers were found guilty in the Rodney King civil rights trial. The other officers were acquitted. On the street, the verdicts were greeted with relief and calm. CNN's Ann McDermott reports.
L.A. was calm. L.A. was peaceful. L.A. was redeemed.
L.A. will have peace. There will be no riots in the streets.
Not like last time, when outrage over the not guilty verdict spewed forth in a wicked brew of fire and blood. No, this time, things were different.
The verdict, guilty, would ease a lot of tension from the neighborhood.
A guilty verdict. To many here, that was a fair verdict. And some thought what made all the difference in the verdict was hearing from the man in the middle. The man whose painful beating 2 years ago, whose videotaped beating brought horror to millions around the world. Rodney King finally spoke out during the federal proceedings, no longer the silent specter of the first trial. And while many here supported a second trial for the cops who beat him, they also took comfort in the fact that so many officers were on the job this day. They remembered too well how scarce they'd been last year as shopkeepers tried in vain to protect themselves. This time it was business as usual.
I don't believe any store is closed.
And there were plenty of cops around to see they stayed open. A lot of the credit, though, should go to the people of Los Angeles, who clearly weren't looking for trouble. Instead, they'd gone door to door, talking to each other about keeping the peace.
No more riots. No more riots. No more riots.
This is not to say there are no problems left in Los Angeles. They are legion.
The people down here in Watts, we need resources, man. We need equal opportunity.
And more. But at least the wretched wound that was the Rodney King case is beginning to heal, it seems, and a city sick and tired of being portrayed as a racial battleground has earned, many believe, a little redemption. Ann McDermott, CNN, Los Angeles.
Stay with us. CNN Weekend will be right back.
Has the simple joy of driving become a casualty of the times? Introducing 200 turbocharged horses. Uncanny grace. And one of the safest cars Saab has ever built. The new 9000 CSE. A car you can drive hard with your conscience intact.
I say I'm too young for gum disease, but my dentist says I'm at risk. So I got the new Colgate Precision toothbrush. It removes more plaque than the leading toothbrushes, which is important at my age.
Fighting gum disease takes precision.
Thanks to Smart Rate from the Discover card, interest charges now have a whole new bottom line. Smart Rate, currently as low as 14.9%. It pays to Discover.
Next week on Showbiz Today, broadcasters from all over the country gather to talk about the face of TV for the upcoming season. And Timothy Hutton talks about his upcoming movie, The Dark Side. That's Showbiz Today, weekdays, 5:30 Eastern on CNN.
Humorist Louis Grizzard left the hospital Saturday, lucky to be alive and pledging to give up alcohol and tobacco. Doctors call his recovery from nearly fatal heart failure remarkable. The 46-year-old columnist still has his sense of humor, saying now he has to get over 3 weeks' worth of hospital food. I'm Charles Crawford. The Travel Guide is up next with a look at a vacation spot off Panama's coast that's considered a well-kept secret.
In our travels this week, we open the doors to one of the most in vogue islands in the Caribbean. And we close the book on Winter '93. These are the Shady Falls, nestled in a cove of Georgia's Lake Blue Ridge. Hello, I'm Valerie Voss. Lake Blue Ridge is a delightful vacation destination, but our research tells us that cruising is still one of the most popular vacation activities. The industry has been exploding even in hard times. In a little while, we'll take you to a couple of ports of call, and we'll talk to an expert about the best buys of the sea. But first, we begin off the coast of Panama, in a place that's not as well known as some other islands. These are the San Blas Islands.
Beneath the Caribbean clouds cushioning the crystal blue sky lies what some consider heaven on earth. This single runway is entree to a string of nearly 400 unadulterated islands hugging Panama's northern seaboard. Welcome to the San Blas Archipelago, where gentle waves lap up on pristine white beaches, inviting the indulgent to gorge themselves on the splendor of the turquoise Caribbean Sea. Nature lovers and divers may opt for the solitude and serenity of the tiny, uninhabited islands. Others may prefer a short jaunt to the larger islands and encounters with the native Kuna Indians. Their surroundings are rustic, their homes mere bamboo huts, but they're a people rich in culture passed down through many generations. And the Kuna will likely tell you their autonomy is invaluable. They govern their own territory and send a representative to Panama's National Assembly. Their economy is derived from coconut harvesting, fishing, and tourism. The Kuna women are renowned in Central America for their handiwork. Their embroidered patterns often reflect traditional themes, current events, or their natural surroundings. Those who wish to explore the Kuna's culture at greater length are welcome to stay at one of the island's few hotels. But be forewarned, the accommodations are bare bones. Otherwise, this excursion can be a relaxing day trip from Panama's mainland. Loretta Lepore, CNN, reporting.
This dam on Lake Blue Ridge empties into what becomes the Ocoee River. That's where the 1996 Summer Olympics held in Atlanta will hold the canoeing and kayaking events. When we come back, we're going to crown a couple of hidden jewels in the Atlantic Ocean. But right now, it's time for our geography question this week. And the question is, what is the second largest body of water that's part of the Atlantic Ocean? We'll have the answer when we return.
There's nothing worse than a foul-smelling pair of shoes. But Odor Eater's insoles are so strong, they actually knock the odor out of your shoes and out of your life. Only soft, comfortable Odor Eaters contain super-activated charcoal, and activated charcoal is the world's most powerful odor destroyer. So to knock the odor out of your shoes and out of your life, get genuine Odor Eaters insoles.
Hello, I'm Leona, your automatic teller. Can I help you with a student loan?
No, a car loan, Leona. Fast forward.
A home improvement loan.
It's a General Motors car. Don't get hassled when you finance a new car or truck. Get GMAC financing only at your GM dealer. Is there someone live I could talk with around
Do we
here?
have one of our calendars? This is a farm calendar. We also have what they call a printing calendar. If I can only find it.
Excuse me, do you make these delicious fat-free Snackwell Double Scoop cookies?
Why, yes, I do.
You want to tell us why we can't find them in the stores anymore?
Well, what is this? You got some explaining to do, Cookie Man.
Yeah.
We're a little more popular than we expected.
Oh, this guy's quick.
We're making more as fast as we can. Oh, you're breaking my heart. Hey, I just make the cookies. You want the big boys upstairs.
The makers of fat-free Snackwell's Devil's Food Cookies apologize for the short supply. Meanwhile, keep enjoying the other varieties.
Yeah, check his trunk.
You don't want to do that.
I came to Cancer Treatment Centers in August of 1989. I wanted a hospital where they didn't rely only on drugs and where they used nutrition to build up the body's own defenses. They always treated me with concern and kindness and never failed to be there for me.
Call us, Cancer Treatment Centers of America, 1-800-792-4800.
They made this day possible, and I'm enjoying every minute of it.
Welcome back. You know, last year alone, there were 12 new cruise ships debuted. And this year, before the year is out, there'll be another 7 new cruise ships churning up the waters around the world. It's time now for the answer to our geography question. You remember what we asked you. What is the second largest body of water that's part of the Atlantic Ocean? And the answer is the Caribbean Sea with more than 1,000 square miles. The largest is the Arctic Ocean with more than 5,000 square miles. Of course, the Caribbean is always everybody's most popular cruise destination. And with all the competition, cruise lines have begun to establish new, exciting itineraries and also to acquire their own islands. I'm told that Little Lake Blue Ridge here is beginning to attract some celebrities. St. Bart's is a little island, but it also seems to be the island of choice for some big-name celebrities. Let's find out why.
1 year after Columbus sailed the ocean blue, he discovered what he called St. Bartholomew, better known as St. Bart's. Columbus named the island after his brother Bartolomeo. St. Bart's is small in size, only 8 square miles, but not in popularity. About 3,500 people live here, but twice as many tourists come through each month. It's a popular port of call for upscale cruise ships. By plane, though, visitors can take in one of the most breathtaking views of the Caribbean just before they land. St. Bart's is in the Caribbean, but different from its Caribbean neighbors. The hillsides are steep and rocky. There are no casinos, practically no nightlife. Vacationers come here to mellow out and take refuge. Year-round water temperatures of 80 degrees make it pretty hard to stay on land. Nearly 3 dozen beaches combine white coral sand and a turquoise sea to create a water sports paradise. Most of the island's activity can be found in Gustavia, the capital of St. Bart's. The island's blend of French and Swedish ancestors who helped to settle the land is evident in this city. Swedish stone walls are set next to French wooden houses. Ancient churches add charm to this tropical European atmosphere. It's best to explore the town on foot. The shopper can find several duty-free items here. Hotels dot St. Bart's, but the chic nature of the island make renting a villa a more popular choice. There are literally hundreds to choose from.
There are probably more villas on this island than most of the others. It's appealing primarily for the privacy, space, comfort, and probably tranquility.
Many visitors come for just the day, many from nearby St. Martin. That's the best connection. By plane, it's only a 10-minute ride. St. Martin has a dual identity, half Dutch and half French. The distinction between the two has become less noticeable over the years. Still, there's a difference between the island's past and present. Tourists can seek the quiet island of the past, or they can live it up in the swinging island of the present. On the French side, Marigot, the capital, is known for its shopping, especially its outdoor market. It's even better if you get there on Saturday morning when boats from nearby islands arrive, filled with fresh fish and produce. Amidst the dark green hills, visitors will find 3 dozen or so beaches. Conditions on the southern and western shores are perfect for swimming, snorkeling, just about every water sport. The transport system is so well developed on St. Martin, it makes the island a perfect base to hop off and explore other hot spots of the sea.
Joining me now is Ray Sorrell, and his company is called Exclusively Cruises, so we're going to talk about some cruises today. The first question I have for you is about bargains. I mean, everyone wants to go on a cruise, but they always want to get the best value. How do you do it?
Normally, the rule was you waited until 30 days or 6 weeks before for the lowest price. Now the cruise lines are trying to increase their advanced bookings. They will give you better discounts booking 6, 9 months, a year out. Then that's advanced bookings.
Why do you think cruising is so popular?
All-inclusive packages. People do not like to pack and unpack. It's easy to pack, go on a trip, meet 100 people if you're on the large cruise ships, have a good time, build up some friendships, and do it again the next year.
Okay. I want to take a cruise. What's my first step?
Your first step is to contact a local cruise-only or travel agency where you can sit down with a responsible business person that you can tell what you would like to do, and they can sort of marriage you to a ship. or marry you to a ship.
So they're not all created equal?
No. You've got mass media cruise ships, mass sailings with 5,000 people, and you have cruise ships that carry 100 passengers. So you might want the 5,000 passenger. I prefer the 100.
Okay. So what other tips would you give us?
Deal with a knowledgeable cruise agency and have fun.
Oh, well, that sounds good. Ray, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
In our Traveler's Notebook today, we'll take a look at some of the things making the biggest splash in the cruise industry.
One of the newest ships to come on board, the MS Statendam, it's number 5 for Holland America and holds more than 1,200 people. What's unique about this ship is its wide range of interior design. Passengers will see more than $2 million worth of art and artifacts, some designed specifically for the ship. During its inaugural season, the ship will travel to Bermuda, Europe, and throughout the Caribbean. The Radisson Diamond, now almost a year old, is the first catamaran cruise ship. It's called a floating hotel, partly because one whole deck is fully devoted to convention and meeting facilities. It sails partly in the Mediterranean and partly in the Caribbean, but it's restructuring its itineraries to provide longer sailings in the Caribbean. Looking ahead to 1996, Carnival Cruise Lines is expecting to put its name on the largest passenger ship to date. The ship will weigh about 95,000 tons and will carry about 3,400 passengers. Its estimated cost? Around $400 million.
Stay tuned as we set sail for Central America. Coming up next on Travel Guide.
Korea, the fascinating and different world. A unique Oriental culture dating back over 5,000 years. Meet kind, friendly people. Enjoy delicious, spicy cuisine and fabulous shopping. Convenient direct flights make it so easy. See Expo 93 and visit Korea Year 94.
Excuse me, do you make these delicious fat-free Snackwell Devil's Food Cookies?
Why, yes, I do.
You want to tell us why we can't find them in the stores anymore?
Well, what is this? You got some explaining to do, Cookie Man.
Yeah.
We're a little more popular than we expected.
Ooh, this guy's quick.
We're making more as fast as we can. Oh, you're breaking my heart. Hey, I just make the cookies. You want the big boys upstairs.
The makers of fat-free Snackwell's Devil's Food Cookies apologize for the short supply. Meanwhile, keep enjoying the other varieties.
Yeah, check his trunk.
You don't want to do that.
Doing it wet, doing it hot. Everybody's doing it, doing it. Everybody's doing it. See do. Everybody's doing it. See do. Doing it with your buddies, with your honey, with the crew. It's you. Everybody's doing it. See do. See do.
If you're always telling your kids that they're less than they ought to be, don't get upset when they grow up feeling bad about themselves. Teaching Self-Esteem, Monday on Sonia Live, 1 p.m. Eastern, only on CNN.
I'm told that fishermen here on Lake Blue Ridge have a pretty good chance of catching some good smallmouth bass. You know, a recent survey by the Travel Industry Association of America has found that more and more travelers are becoming eco-tourists. That's travelers with a concern for the environment. And cruise liners are taking advantage of that, especially with trips to Alaska. If you go by ship to Alaska, you can enjoy the remote areas, see the wildlife, and not harm the environment. Of course, Guatemala is another good destination for fishermen and also ecotourists. It's also an archaeological adventure. Deep in the heart of the Guatemalan jungle lie ruins and artifacts from long, long ago.
Rise above the canopy of the rainforest and watch time fall away 1 century at a time until the visitor is no longer in the 20th century, but caught somewhere between then and now. This is Tikal, Guatemala. For several hundred years, from about 600 BC until about 900 AD, it was the capital of one of the world's greatest civilizations. Tikal sat in the exact center of the Maya Empire. It was home to 50,000 people whose civilization disappeared as mysteriously as it arose. Today, time and the jungle have reclaimed many of the achievements, but Tikal is being rediscovered. In 1992, more than 500 million tourists visited Guatemala, a tiny country in Central America. Part of Tikal's appeal is its location in the middle of a dense jungle, far from modern life and commercialization.
When you sit on some places, or you're going up to the pyramids, and you sit somewhere and you stay for about half an hour, you have the feeling of being in the middle of the Maya culture.
Most of the buildings visitors come to see were built between 550 and 900 AD, when Tikal was at its peak.
This is an original monument. It's actually that small.
The Maya erected slabs of carved stone to record important events. Their hieroglyphs were so detailed that in some cases archaeologists have been able to calculate dates down to the year, the month, and the day. Guides recommend 3 days to explore the area. Most visitors focus on the Plaza Mayor, the Great Plaza. The Maya held religious ceremonies here and offered their sacrifices while the crowds waited below. A close look at Temple 1, or the Temple of the Great Jaguar, shows the ravages of time. Temple 2, or the Temple of the Masks, is shorter and wider and offers a good view of the plaza and Temple 1. On the other side of the plaza, the Central Acropolis, a grouping of small temples. But many say the North Acropolis, a complex maze of palaces and courtyards, makes for the most interesting exploring. At its peak, Tikal covered 25 square miles. Relatively little of it has been reclaimed since it was first discovered in the late 19th century. And never far from sight, the jungle reminds visitors of how it could look again if nature has its way. Chuck Roberts, CNN reporting.
Here's another interesting fact about Lake Blue Ridge. This is the Benton-McCabe Trail. It's part of the Appalachian Trail and ends right here at Lake Blue Ridge. You know, it's great to be outside when winter is finally over. It's hard to appreciate the beauty of winter when you're knee-deep in snow with temperatures below freezing. So now that spring is here, we thought we'd give one final tribute to the beauty of winter. It's today's Where in the World segment.
That lake is cold and windy.
That's some wintry weather most of us can say goodbye to for a little while anyway. In case you missed the locations, those were scenes from Minnesota and the Grand Canyon. It's time now for us to cruise on out of here. Thanks for joining us. The news continues now on CNN. I'm Valerie Voss. Join us next week when we spend a day at the races. We'll be dropping in on some of the top thoroughbred racing in the United States.
This has been a presentation of CNN News for Living.
I'm Charles Crawford in Atlanta. Pinnacle is next after this quick look at the news. 2 guilty, 2 not guilty. That was the verdict Saturday in the Rodney King civil rights trial. General approval was evident in the calm throughout Los Angeles. The city had been braced for possible violence as happened after last year's trial. In Las Vegas, police and black activists marched arm in arm, a sharp contrast to last year when the city was rocked with unrest. In other news, the Security Council voted a short time ago to slap Yugoslavia with more sanctions. That's in response to the latest Serb offensive in eastern Bosnia. The vote came just hours after a ceasefire was signed between Bosnia's warring Serb and Muslims. That agreement calls for more UN troops to the besieged town of Srebrenica and for the safe evacuation of residents there. More news, followed by Pinnacle, are just on the other side of this short break.
Imagine a place where tales are tall, the air is pure, and dreams run free.
One of my best friends died from asthma, and it shouldn't have happened. Asthma treatments have improved over the years. Even severe asthma can be controlled now. To get reliable answers about asthma, call a specially trained nurse at Lung Line, a free telephone information service of the National Jewish Center for Immunology and Respiratory Medicine in Denver. That toll-free number is 1-800-222-LUNG. That's 1-800-222-LUNG.
This is CNN.
Hello, I'm Charles Crawford. Pinnacle is next, but first, attorneys for Sergeant Stacy Kuhn and Officer Lawrence Powell say they'll appeal the men's convictions in the Los Angeles civil rights trial. But for now, tension in the city of Los Angeles seems to be lessening. And as CNN's Charles Jaco reports, people on the street are hoping the verdicts will help heal the city's wounds.
For weeks, a fog of near paranoia hung over the City of Angels like a wet wool blanket. Then came the verdicts, and then nothing. The police patrolled, or sat, and waited. Police and media helicopters, known in South Central Los Angeles as ghetto birds, saw nothing but calm. In the housing projects where dreams die early and the homes look like prison dormitories, the reaction was controlled anger.
This is what they call justice being served. They should have found the officers guilty before the last rebellion.
I'm not happy. I'm not sad. It's just a confusion moment right now. See, because first of all the officers, in my opinion, should have been convicted.
10 miles and a cultural light year away, white suburbanites on an environmental march reacted with relief.
I'm just hoping that we can get back to normal around here and not make that such a preoccupation with our whole world.
This is a beginning, that the black community will feel that they have as much rights as the white community does.
In Koreatown, where shops were savaged in last year's rioting, the thought was that maybe things are now getting back to normal.
We feel, wow, you know, let's go to work. You know, let's do our business.
Everything's back to normal.
Everything's back to normal.
Everyone seems to be at ease. Everyone seems to be in good spirits. You know, I think a day ago or 2 days ago, I think everyone was a little tense.
And on the streets of Hispanic neighborhoods, the verdicts meant that this time, maybe no one will die.
They're trying to do what they're supposed to do long time ago. Now it's fair for all the people,
But the relief that followed the verdict may just be momentary. Racial and social fissures undercut this city like earthquake faults, and it may not take much to split them open. This summer's trial of the 3 men accused of beating truck driver Reginald Denny, for example. Being calm in L.A. is one thing, staying that way is another. So the verdicts came and went, and nothing much changed. Gangs still controlled many streets, jobs for many young people were still in short supply, and too many people with too many guns still had too little to lose. Charles Jaco, CNN, Los Angeles.
And I'm Charles Crawford. Pinnacle is next. Stay tuned.
I'll celebrate my 40th year in business. And that's an achievement in itself, being in one business for 40 years. I put a lot of my life into that business. You know, you'd say, how do you think of it? And I said, I guess like one of my children. You know, I've raised it from nothing, you know, from a $2,000 investment to what it is today.
What it is today is a $150 million catalog company. Its founder and chief executive, Lillian Vernon, is one of the divas of direct mail marketing.
They should start anytime they want to without me, and I will do my own pricing while I'm home.
Vernon's signature style is on everything from dressers to dishes.
I like that. Weighs a ton, though. Yeah. Do people want heavy charges?
And for Lillian Vernon, her 10 million mail order customers come first.
Thank you for calling, Lillian Vernon. This is Betty speaking. May I help you?
In the cascade of catalogs overflowing America's mailboxes, the pages of Lillian Vernon have been a first-class standout for almost 40 years. I'm Beverly Shook, and in this edition of Pinnacle, you'll meet this matriarch of the mail order business. Lillian learned an early lesson in courage, fleeing Nazi Germany as a young girl. But a friend...
Hello, I'm Natalie Allen. Week in Review is just ahead. First, a check of our top story. The Associated Press has just reported that Pakistan's President Ghulam Ishaq Khan has dismissed that nation's government. The political crisis mounted today when Army troops under presidential orders took over the state radio and television. Yesterday, Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif made an appearance on television and accused the president of plotting against him. The helicopter evacuation of wounded from the Bosnia-Herzegovina town of Srebrenica is well underway. So far, as many as 40 seriously wounded have been airlifted by helicopter to the Muslim stronghold of Tuzla. They are the first wave of sick and wounded to leave the war-ravaged town under a UN-mediated agreement signed by rival Serb and Muslim leaders early today. The victims are being flown to safety by French and British helicopters. In the U.S., both sides of the Senate aisle are calling for U.S. military force to end the conflict. However, ideas of how to do that differ. The Republican wants a deadly ultimatum, while the Democrat supports President Clinton's policies.
We either ought to say, let's set a timetable and do something. We talk about tightening sanctions. Serbs don't care about that. They're going to continue their slaughter of innocent women and children. They're going to slice up Bosnia and the Bosnians.
We have to face a choice between going it alone, which many Americans don't want to do, or slowing down the pace to accommodate the concerns of our European allies. And the president, I think, has provided strong leadership in the direction of bringing our allies along to take more meaningful action.
Meantime, reports from amateur radio operators say that in spite of that UN-brokered ceasefire, the fighting goes on. Another confrontation in the skies over Iraq. The Pentagon says 2 F-4 fighters were illuminated by Iraqi missile radar today while patrolling the northern no-fly zone. One fighter then fired a missile at an Iraqi missile base at 11 miles south of the 36th parallel. That's the first time American planes have targeted a site outside the no-fly zones. Both planes returned safely, and there's no word on damage or injuries in Iraq. Los Angeles police say they're all dressed up with nowhere to go, and that's just fine with them. Police and National Guard troops were mobilized for trouble after the Rodney King verdict, but last night was one of the lowest crime nights in a long time. 2 L.A. officers were convicted yesterday, 2 were acquitted. Police are expressing relief the trial is over.
The majority of the men and women in this department and others do their jobs day in and day out to the best of their ability. They make split-second decisions. They make the right decisions. If they make mistakes, they are taken into accountable. So the entire department was not on trial.
Convicted officers Stacy Kuhn and Lawrence Powell are free on bond and will be sentenced August 4th. For Jews around the world, this is a day of remembrance for those killed during the Holocaust. The names of some of the 6 million Jews killed during World War II are being read aloud in Washington. This year's Holocaust Remembrance Day marks the 50th anniversary of the uprising in the Warsaw Ghetto. U.S. and Israeli dignitaries will attend memorial ceremonies in Poland tomorrow.
74 in Ternovka, Ukraine, in the year 1942.
Weekend Review is next as CNN Weekend continues.
Week in Review is brought to you by Land Rover, the maker of legendary British off-road vehicles.
1 and 2.
For $19.93, you can get a Range Rover that's not only 8 inches longer, but comes with a remarkable air suspension system that automatically adjusts to a variety of driving conditions. Once again, Range Rover rises to new heights.
Priceless masterpieces and historic artifacts gathered from nearly 50 prestigious collections in France, Switzerland, Italy, England, and the United States. The world's largest exhibition on one of history's most recognizable figures, Napoleon, exclusively in Memphis, April 22nd through September 22nd. Reserve your tickets today.
Trustworthy hardware stores. We're the problem solvers.
Now at Trustworthy Hardware, it's our Spring Problem Solver sale. You'll find page after page and aisle after aisle of brand name savings. Save on the 4-piece claw screwdriver set from Vermont American with new power grip handles for more power and less effort. Just $4.99 with coupon.
Trustworthy hardware stores. We're the problem solvers.
I wonder if we have termites.
Terminex is the leader in termite control.
Where's that number?
Our name is well known, if not always well loved. Call us. Nobody bugs bugs like Terminex.
Today, mind-altering effects and big cash yields. How a narcotic plant called khat fuels one African country's economy. And in Singapore, take a walk in the wild with a famous explorer on...
Two convictions and 2 acquittals for the Los Angeles police officers on trial for violating Rodney King's civil rights. Black South Africans react violently to the murder of anti-apartheid leader Chris Hani. And in Bosnia-Herzegovina, Srebrenica on the verge of collapse. For Sunday, April 18th, this is Week in Review. Hello and welcome. I'm Susan Rook. The wait ended in Los Angeles Saturday morning when the jury returned the verdicts for the 4 Los Angeles police officers accused of violating Rodney King's civil rights.
Los Angeles had been waiting on the answer for more than a year. When it came Saturday, it took only 15 minutes.
The jury finds the defendant
Stacy C. Kuhn, guilty as charged. He was found guilty of aiding and abetting depriving motorist Rodney G. King of his civil rights.
Stacy Kuhn had no facial reaction. He was stretching his neck and continued to do so as the guilty verdict was pronounced.
They find Lawrence M. Powell guilty of violation of Title 18 of the U.S. Code.
He looked straight ahead, stone-faced, and had a big swallow.
The jury, in this entitled cause, find Timothy Wind not guilty.
He crossed himself. After that, he just looked straight ahead and at the end clasped his hands.
And the jury finds Theodore Brasino not guilty.
He let out a big sigh of relief after it was all over.
He was crying and he was hugging his brother. And his brother was saying, "You can't worry about the others. You know, that what happens, happens." And Ted was difficult to console.
The reaction to the two convictions was unrestrained outside the courtroom as well.
The last time verdict in Simi Valley just tore the heart out of the community, and it tore the heart out of the city. Now LA can become revitalized and become the city not of lost angels, but of angels of God.
We really have more balm for healing today than we would have had if the trial had gone another way.
This is a beginning, you know, that the black community will feel that they have as much rights as the white community does.
I'm not happy, I'm not sad, it's just a confusion moment right now. See, because first of all the officers, in my opinion, should have been convicted because the videotape is enough for the whole world to see that the man that beat up Rodney King was in the wrong.
This jury watched that videotape, but unlike in the state trial last year, the prosecution presented the jury with strong supporting evidence.
The fact that Rodney King testified, he took the stand, he humanized the videotape in the proceedings, and I think also the fact that there were witnesses to the videotape.
The jury in this case heard a different case. So when they went back to the jury room, I think they with good conscience can say, we're not looking over the shoulders of the Simi Valley jury. We're deciding a separate case, and based upon the evidence we heard and some of the evidence we did not hear, this is what we find.
The defense tried to present a united front by having only the senior officer, Stacy Kuhn, testify during the trial.
Stacy Kuhn was mandated under LAPD policy to be in charge, to take accountability. And he took accountability. A less forthright individual would attempt to shilly-shally, shy away, and not meet his responsibilities head-on. Certainly, the jury did not appreciate that courage and integrity.
He testified that he was responsible and that everything was under his command, and he agreed with it. As to Officer Powell, he's the one in the videotape that delivered more than 50 blows.
It happened that we had more evidence against Powell and Kuhn than we did against Wind and Brasino, but we certainly didn't discriminate against one defendant as opposed to another one.
We have no way of knowing what the jury felt was important and significant. Obviously, they made the final decision. We gave them as much of what we could that we felt they needed.
The jury deliberated 40 hours over 8 days and came to agreement Friday afternoon. And in an unusual move, the judge sealed the verdict until the following morning, giving authorities time to prepare for any unrest. But shortly after the verdict was read, officials in Los Angeles and other cities were optimistic.
That right now today, the city of Los Angeles is very calm, perhaps even more calm than it was this time last Saturday or Saturday before. It's very, very important to point out that the deployment plans, which were put in place last night, that culminated with a full deployment beginning at 6 a.m. this morning, will stay in place for the time being.
Today, a jury representing the diversity of our city found the truth. Today, a measure of simple justice has been delivered to our community.
Unless we really do believe that underneath the differences of race and religion and ethnicity, underneath the differences of political party and political opinion, there is a core in each one of us given us by God and which we share in common, which obliges us to respect one another and to wish to live together in harmony and peace, none of the other things I came to talk to you about today can come to pass.
But not everyone was happy with the outcome.
Any officer that arrived on that scene that early morning of March 3rd, 1991, and saw this man being beaten and did not offer any assistance are equally as guilty as the ones who beat him.
It's like the civil litigation that takes place today. It's another danger for police officers on the street, another danger for them to face up to.
We train them to think quickly, instantaneously, but if that means thinking twice or three times in a millisecond, that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be able to analyze the reactions of the people they're dealing with, the surrounding, the tools that they're available to them, and then make decisions. So I don't know, I didn't hear his comments, so I can't say that thinking twice is negative or not. American policing has learned a lot of positives from what occurred nearly 2 years ago and in between. So all our agencies have changed, and that change, I think, is for the positive.
We understand that the police department right now is on tactical alert. We want them to get on justice alert. We want somebody to get on education alert. We want somebody to get on health care alert.
We still confront a future in which we must strive to improve relations between police officers and all the citizens they protect and serve better. That would certainly be a fine inheritance for our children.
We must address the underlying problems of racism and economic oppression, poverty.
I'm looking forward to this city now turning itself around and dealing with the real issues and the real problems that face us. Not focusing solely on a trial of 4 officers, dealing with the problems of unemployment, of hopelessness, of hunger, of housing needs, and many of the other things that face this city and other cities across the nation.
Kuhn and Powell will be sentenced on August 4th. They each face up to 10 years in prison and a fine of $250,000. Attorneys for Kuhn say they will file an appeal. For Week in Review, I'm Leon Harris.
More than 6,000 Los Angeles police officers remained on duty throughout the night. The city remained relatively calm. Millions of Americans were finishing up their 1992 federal income tax forms on Thursday when the issue of a value-added tax, or VAT, was raised. The tax is one of the options President Clinton is considering to help pay for his health care benefits package, but he says he hasn't made a decision yet. The VAT is sometimes called a national sales tax, but unlike a sales tax, which you pay when you purchase something, the VAT is added during every step of production and marketing. For example, from the processing of a tree into lumber to the finished piece of furniture. The government estimates that a 5% VAT that does not include food, housing, and medical care could raise as much as $217 billion in 4 years. But Republicans don't like it.
If you add a value-added tax onto a system that already has an income tax, it's like adding a whole new administrative layer onto the existing tax system.
Value-added tax sounds like a great idea. We've never had serious hearings on it. It may be a way to finance health care, but I don't think it's a very good option.
Michigan is the only state in the union currently using a business value-added tax.
I'm David Goodnow. Coming up on Week in Review, violence tears the fabric of South African solidarity.
Shipping a package to Omaha? That's child's play. Try customs in Shanghai. Try Czech or Slovakia. The 400 dial